if it had to, I will give up everything. I will suffer outside in the cold, and I will connect to Wi-Fi at a library and something, but I will not stop building. And again, it's nothing personal. It's just I love the team, but I got to use the tech that is going to be there, that will be ready, and that will be upkept. But I was increasingly frustrated with the fact that I realized I wouldn't be able to do what I had set out to do. And you want to, using the multi-sig on our chain, execute calls that use those tokens on that chain. You can do that without needing to actually transfer the asset.
Hello, welcome to another video. My name is Claudio and this is Chain, and joining me today is Dakota Barnett from InvArch, and we're going to be talking about that. By the way, congratulations to you for winning the poll. I mean, you got the most votes out of all the different choices that I've put up there in the poll on Twitter, so you've got a really strong community. It's really awesome. And yeah, he's here basically to share information regarding InvArch, tinkernet as well, and what they're up to, what they're doing, and all the exciting stuff coming up. So Dakota, welcome. I really appreciate you coming on. If you want to maybe just for people that don't know who you are, I mean, I didn't know who you are either. We've chatted for the first time. So tell us like your background, like how did you start in crypto to begin it? Like when was the first time you got your first cryptocurrency, or what attracted you to crypto?
Yeah, so thank you. Thank you again also just for having me, for the warm welcome. I'm really excited to be here. I've been watching actually some of your videos over the past year now. So a little bit of a big deal to me to be here. So thank you. But yeah, so a little bit about me, my background. I actually used to work in US government and politics. So like from the age of 13 to 21, I mean, I was laser focused. I wanted to be the president of the United States. Like no one could tell me otherwise. And I think I made good ground, especially like for my age and everything. A little bit of an unorthodox beginning. I come from a kind of a troubled or a not fun childhood. So to get away from that, I ended up going into foster care, and just to get away from everything, I graduated early from high school. So I get out, leave, go to college. I did that. I couldn't afford college. So then after a semester, I had to drop out. I did really, really well. Had all A's. I was class president, but private university. I probably shouldn't have chosen to go on there, but I wouldn't change anything of it now. Just because at 21 and as a college dropout, I actually got to work in governments and up at the executive level. So it was an amazing opportunity. I got to do a lot of things I loved. Like my job was to on the fly handle, there's every day all this slew of problems that come in that people want to get solved, and of course there's an executive that's unrealistic. However, there usually is someone or sometimes people who are in charge of solving those problems, finding the solutions on the fly, and that was me. And then also just kind of giving my input and my 2 cents when it came to I guess like campaign strategies, specifically how to connect with the people, like just the masses, things like that. That's something because of my upbringing I was good at. And I really loved working in politics. However, the common denominator of it all was I wanted to make great change. I wanted to have a positive impact. I didn't like how the system was around me, and I wanted to see it changed. Yeah. And so I pursued politics because I thought that was the avenue to do that. And after being in there just for 6 months, and again, I did a really good job. I loved what I got to do, but I was increasingly frustrated with the fact that I realized I wouldn't be able to do what I had set out to do. At least I'm a little impatient, so at least not as fast as I hoped. So that frustrated me. And I ended up leaving politics, actually kind of just like wanted to figure out like my own thing. Who am I apart from politics? And so I thought it was going to be my whole life. So reassessing all that, and InvArch is an idea that I had for 6 years now. So even before I had gotten into that first role, and it's just continued to grow and just grow and grow in my head. And it's something I never let up on. So during that kind of that hiatus, so to speak, I was just increasingly just focused on trying to plan out everything, plan out this vision I had. And there were these pain points that I kept coming across, specifically regarding shared ownership, how to account for that shared ownership, intellectual property, and shared governance. So in the Web 2 world, completely unaware of blockchain, I was slightly stumped because I recognized that there was this flaw in a lot of these solutions I was coming up with, where there was this trusted private entity that would be in charge of facilitating those things. And the funny thing is, I just don't know why, but it just really bothered me. Even though I would have been, the company at that time that I envisioned would have been that entity, it just didn't feel ethical for some reason. So I kept trying to find different solutions. And funny thing is, I actually discovered Polkadot before I ever owned any currency, any cryptocurrency. I saw a picture of the relay, and it mapped up with what it was. I had made a doodle myself trying to like highlight a solution. I looked at it and I was just like looking at my picture, and I'm like, huh. So clicked on the picture, brought me to the website, and then I just read it all. And that was my first emergence into blockchain, into Web3. And it was a lot, but changed my life. I mean, forever. It was everything I was always looking for. It provided either the solutions for all the problems I had encountered, or it at least allowed me to realize that if the solution doesn't already exist, it is possible to build. And that's all I needed. So the first crypto I actually ever owned was DOT. I got it like that software at $2.48.
Okay, so you got in 2020 then into crypto.
Yeah.
Okay, I when you said you first heard of it, like I was thinking maybe you've heard of it from 2017 when
Oh no.
Gavin left Ethereum to welcome Polkadot, and they had like the ICO, I believe, back then. I wasn't aware of it either because I only got in crypto myself in 2017. I only knew about Coinbase, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, the three coins that were available on Coinbase at the time. It wasn't like 2018 when I got in. So that's interesting that Polkadot is your very first one. That's really, really cool. Thank you for that. So obviously now I understand why you decided to build on Polkadot, because that was what caught your attention. You saw the tech, you saw the potential there, and you were like, yeah, let's do this. So tell us about the journey. Like, how did you get started? Like, how did you build that team? Like, how did you find, because you're a founder, right? But you're also working with Gabe, who's a co-founder of InvArch, and then you've got, of course, other people working for you as well. So how did you get the team together? Where did you find the other guys?
So I will say there's definitely a lot of learning like that has come out of it. But to answer the question simply, like how do I meet everyone? LinkedIn. Honestly, that's how. So from Bruno being our advisor to finding Gabe to everyone, it was all through LinkedIn. I had my account. I realized that I understood that from the perspective of others.
Yeah.
Who's this guy? You know what I mean? Especially with a fairly fresh LinkedIn. I mean, like, who are you? So like, and I understood this. So I just went through to all of the major projects, and this was my secret. I just spammed requests, and a few people would accept it. I'd go back and I'd do it again, because now I had some mutual connections with people. So they, psychology, they would be okay. They'll add it. They'll more likely. And that worked, and I do it again and again and again. So then eventually I just had all of these people, all these connections I'd never met, from Parity, from Akala, from Moonbeam, from Pokedex, all these other projects. And that's how I met Bruno. I shared him early concept for the project. He loved it. He was like, yes. I asked him if he'd be an advisor. It took a moment. It took a moment, because he was like, I want to make sure this guy's legit. But he agreed. Gabe at the time was working at Pokedex as a senior Rust engineer. Kind of poached him a little bit. So found him, connected. There's also several other people that I found. I almost made the Vitalik mistake of, according to him, of having way too many co-founders. Initially, there was almost going to be 5 of us.
Wow.
So there's going to be 5 of us. And at one point, before anything was actually formal and set in stone, there was 5 people in place for this. One person, I won't name names, one person worked at the Web3 Foundation. I think they still do now, but just the workload and everything, very quickly realized that this wouldn't be a good fit, so asked them to depart. And then over time, we also just learned that one of our guys, the passion was there, but the skill wasn't, and it just, no matter what, it just wasn't. So unfortunately, I had to ask them to leave. And another individual who I have a lot of great respect for, but he just had his hands in too much, you know what I mean? And again, it didn't have the focus that we were looking for, so I had them depart. So now it's Gabe and I. I kind of wish that it was always just Gabe and I. But yeah, so now yeah, Gabe and I, and we have our team. But apart from that, I guess like other members of our team, we've also found people, like two of our current employees directly from our ambassador program.
Yeah.
Just as they were there, they loved it, they showed the passion. I mean, our designer was, without asking, was just sending us like entire like designs for a website, like new design after new design that he was making. And I
Yeah.
was just like, for one, they were incredible, but I was just like, holy crap, like this dude he has that passion, you know what I mean? And so yeah, hiring through that. But yeah, social media. Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
the main thing,
I
using that
can
to connect.
imagine it's always challenging, like even to find the right people, and to share the same vision as you, the same passion. And let's not forget that with startups and also in Web3, there's really no sleep, right? That's what they say. I
Yeah.
mean, even as a developer, like I used to work as a developer myself, and I know how challenging it can be sometimes. Like when you find that bug and the company is really putting pressure on you to get that sorted as soon as possible because it is affecting customers. If you're working for that kind of company, right, and you've got those customers waiting, then I can understand that. So like in Web3, it's a whole different ball game, right? It's the pressure is immense, and
Like it's worse.
you need to be available all the time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like no more social life. It's just like this and just do it, right? But then there's the community aspect of it. So that's the cool thing, right? When it comes to working in Web3. So yeah. So tell me, like with regards to InvArch, like if you want to summarize, like what is InvArch? Just
Oh,
and please try to use words not super technical because I
no,
know
no,
like
yeah,
I
yeah,
looked on your
yeah.
website and I was making some jokes before that some of the
That's my
lingo there
fault
is
too.
super
Yeah.
complex. So let's see like what's InvArch basically. Just try to explain that.
Okay, so very, very simply, InVarch is a layer one blockchain that is highly optimized for DAOs. So for decentralized autonomous organizations, for launching DAOs, for essentially being the digital domain for these unstoppable organizations. So providing no code solutions so that anyone can easily construct a DAO. So like the same way if you were to map out the organizational body of a company, we want to allow people to do the same exact thing, identify the different departments, so to speak. So DAO, sub DAO, there's a treasury, sub treasuries, and then also be able to define the roles. So just like in a company, be laying out, okay, what employees do we need here and there? We want to be able people to do the same exact things. We want people to be able to define the reward structures, how all of that works, and just make it as simple as possible, so that anybody can create either like I said, a very simple DAO or something that could be incredibly complex. But the thing is, we just want to provide no code solutions that people can do this, and then also allow them to connect with other ecosystems. So whether it's with Ethereum directly or whether it's through something like Astar, connect to, there's all of these toolings, all these additional solutions and enhancements that are being built for DAOs. It's DAO tooling in the form of smart contracts, which we do not have smart contracts on our chain because we don't need them. So instead, we connect with other chains that have those tools and allow those tools to integrate. So what is InvArch? Just the DAO hub of Web3.
The DAO Hub. And when you say DAO Hub, I mean, do you have the tooling? I know you were talking about tooling earlier. So is there like specific tooling for DAOs and also for sub DAOs? Or do they use like the one tool, the one dashboard that basically allows that connection in between DAOs and sub DAOs?
So it's a good question. We are actually getting ready to roll out our Saturn multisig, which is, this is the ultimate foundation for everything that we're building, that we're looking to achieve with DAOs. So the multi-sig allows you to define, like I said, either something very simple or something very complex. So you can have your one treasury, you know what I mean? We're used to this. Here's your, the one, a treasury, and everyone has this like multi-sig control over it. It's very
Yeah.
simple. However, we want to make it to where you can, in the same interface, you can define that treasury, but then you can define offshoots or sub treasuries. All
Yeah.
right. So be able to define these sub treasuries, being able to define who has voting rights over those sub treasuries. Is it the same people or is it different people that are, let's say, specialized in this skill, because this sub treasury is for marketing. So we have people who are more qualified, more experts voting on this. So providing this multi-sig as this ultimate foundation for constructing DAOs and making it modular. So, or allowing it to accept modular governance. So here is the multi-sig, and I like to use my hands for the visuals. So you can define your DAO or your core treasury, and then you can define your sub DAOs sub treasuries, or you can even go further down than that. And then allowing people to then plug in custom governance modules, not just over the entirety of the thing, but for each individual treasury or DAO or sub treasury, and all that, you can implement a custom governance module over each. So yeah, this is the ultimate foundation that we're coming out with. Looking to provide like further tooling in the future, such as like automated income flows, split royalties, and things like off-chain signing. But yeah, the foundation for all of this is our multi-sig that's getting ready to come out. It'll actually be here very soon. Technically, it's done, but we're taking 2 weeks to just fine-tune everything. We've talked to people over at ETH Denver, actually some bigger players within our space, that after we told them about it, they were like, this is what we've been needing. We know we have a list of institutional clients that want to get in, but they don't really like the current tools that are available. So with this coming out, they see this as a really big on-ramp for getting them in here. So yeah, that's a big thing that we're excited for. A big tooling for DAOs that we're excited to get out there.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about the treasury as well, because that's been really interesting the way you were explaining all that. So when you say the treasury, where does that funding come from? Like what treasury basically?
So, well, I guess in this sense, so in the same way that, because there's different ways to fund a treasury. So I guess like the most basic instance is when you already have funds, you want to move them to this account.
Okay.
They're here. Or let's say if you're a team that's fundraising, then it has its address, and this is typically where you would have the funds sent to immediately. That way they're directly sent to that multi-sig. There's no instance where someone could technically go rogue. So there's this first model, you know what I mean? Very, very simple. It's you get the funds sent here and then you do your thing. However, we also want to provide instances for individuals. Let's say you don't have any of those connections. You don't want to go the VC route. That's not your thing. And you're also not seeding your own like project per se. So you're starting up fresh. So we have OSIF, which is our OSIF protocol. It's on tinkernet. It's actually getting ready to go. We had our testing. It's getting ready to go like live fully this month. We're just finalizing our new UI for it, and then we're good to go. But with this, it allows DAOs to essentially register to the network. Token holders can stake towards them. There is on tinkernet currently 10% inflation. This will likely teeter off over time, but 10% inflation. 40% of which goes towards staking rewards, 60% of it goes towards this DAO rewards pool. And then based off of the amount of votes or supports that DAOs get, they will get the same, they'll get from that 60%, they'll get those rewards proportionate to the level of support that they received. So then these funds would then go directly to that DAO's treasury. So this is one way to see them to get them going. And then we're also going to be providing something in the future, which we call OSIF farming. So it essentially allows DAOs to provide a token and provide a certain yield of that token in exchange for staking rewards. And what I mean is, so there's that 40% that people are getting for their staking rewards. But let's say I wanted to divert that. Instead of it going to me, I actually want to send a portion or all of it to this other DAO. And why would I do that? Because I'm going to help fund this DAO, and in exchange, they're offering me, governance tokens or utility tokens, some type of voice or say or power utility within this DAO. And so this provides another avenue of funding for them. And then, of course, there's going to be, as things flesh out, DAOs will automate, when they launch up, they'll just have a token. And then there will, of course, be, I imagine, some type of exchange or marketplaces in the future that allow them other paths to funding as well.
Now, I've got some question because this has gone really complex and I'm just trying to clarify to see if I can understand it. So you are saying that you can connect to any other parachains, right? So let's assume that you want to connect to Moonbeam, and then there's a DAO that wants to do fundraising with the Glimmer coin. So would they have to XCM transfer over that Glimmer coin over to InvArch, which would then become a token on InvArch, and then use that for fundraising? So, is that even possible? Like, or do they have to create their own token on top of InvArch? Like, how does it actually work?
So I'll say, yes and no. And what I mean is, so technically speaking with our multi-sig, and shout out to Gabe, our CTO. He's designed it very well and with a very clear understanding and vision for XCM v3. So with our multi-sig, one of the really powerful things about it is bridgeless multi-chain asset management. It's a bit of a mouthful, but we're working on it. So using XCM v3, so this DAO that is launched on our network can own and manage assets on other chains without the need to actually bridge them to our chain. So if you have, now there's a difference. If you want to use that token in a protocol, then we are looking to see if there's a way with XCMV3 to achieve this change of state and execution of logic across the relay without the need to bridge assets. However, still looking into that, and that would be amazing. But getting back to my points, if you're looking to, let's say, use those tokens in a specific protocol, then odds are you would need to transfer them over to that chain wherever that protocol exists to use those features. However, a DAO that wants to, let's say, I want to deploy our DAO. We're launched on InvArch. We own Astar, we own Glimmer, and other tokens.
Yeah.
You don't need to bridge them. Those tokens never need to come to our chain. And we have no plans necessarily for them to have to come to our chain for you to actually manage them. If you're a DAO launched on our network and you own Astar, so on the Astar network, and you want to, using the multi-sig on our chain, execute calls that use those tokens on that chain, you can do that without needing to actually transfer the assets because they've never left that chain.
Interesting. Okay, so you can control another chain through those signatures, basically from
Yeah.
from the tool that you were talking about earlier.
And with
that tool will allow you to create a DAO and then to manage that DAO with coins on other chains. Ultimately, that's like the simple way to put it.
Yeah, simple way. And how that works is because of XDMV3. So I guess anyone, if you're used to Ethereum, so they're used to Ethereum, this one monolithic transaction layer at the bottom, and there's all these smart contracts deployed on top. Let's say like Gnosis Safe is one of them. It doesn't matter where you never have to, everything's all in this one environment, but with Polkadot, it's the lowest layer is this relay, and then actually all these other sovereign L1 chains, which are at the same level as Ethereum, but there's multiples of them. With XMV3, it makes it to where, yes, these are all technically different chains, but it's kind of like we solidify this into one true ecosystem of cross-chain operations, to where you can have protocols which are deployed and exist on one chain, but you're able to interact with them as if this was just one whole environment, similar to how you're able to interact with all of the various different smart contracts and protocols that are launched on Ethereum.
Wow, interesting, huge.
I mean, shout out to Gavin and Rob on that. That is it's amazing.
I mean, given that the functionality is there, it's great because you can now use that functionality, for the purpose of your project. So let's talk about the treasuries. I mean, with regards to managing treasuries, does that mean that one can manage treasuries that are on another chain through the tooling of your DAO as well?
Yeah. So
not just let's say, for example, token sales.
Yeah. So so one of the things that we're actually working on with another Parachain team, we're gonna wait for them to make the announcements and lead the way on this, per our discussions that we had during ETH Denver. But whether it should happen this year, but depending on how things go, I've learned that expectations and reality, sometimes there's a little time delay there. But I will say that here soon in the future, 100%, we will see at least one. Rob actually during ETH Denver said this was a good idea, and he think it'd be cool to see more. But at least one major parachain that we're all aware of in the Polkadot ecosystem is going to be offloading their governance and handling their governance through our chain.
Wow, amazing. That's great to hear. And we're looking forward to that as well, of course, once it's going to be announced. So let's talk about, I mean, we've been talking a lot about the DAO and the tooling, but what about NFTs? Because looking at your website, I mean, you have mentioned NFTs there and how you're going to use it in a different way than we're used to, right? It's like NFT 2.0, maybe even beyond that. So talk about the tech there, like how are you going to manage those NFTs and what can we do with NFTs?
Yeah, so the way that we're using NFTs on our chain, first and foremost, is essentially to solve problems around intellectual property. So ownership attribution, and also licensing. It's evolved a lot. So the way that we've envisioned things is we have this big picture for the creator economy, and we understand that there are different levels. So there are the entities, there's the businesses or the actors in these businesses, these organizations, and then there's also like the products and services that they produce. Now, in this environment, this DAO focused environment, products and services are typically produced through joint collaboration. So how do we do things such as define? So there's contribution tracking. There's reputation that goes into play with all this, but how do we define who owns what, or what claims do people have to royalties for profits and things like this? And this is where NFTs became a really huge solution. So regarding intellectual property, I mean, they allow for the attribution of like identity attribution. So this is the original creator of this. And then you're able to then connect. So let's say if someone makes they can build on this using like NFT 2.0 technology. You can add on this. You can keep this kind of like NFT ledger of contributions and the evolution of that product. The NFT isn't the product, but it is this record of ownership linking the owner or owners to the actual data of that this is typically existing on IPFS and linking that. So as that data is able to evolve into what ends up being that actual service or product, we're able to pin through NFTs essentially this proof of ownership over that, and it's just this on-chain connection between the two. But this is really important because this then allows us to do things such as have split royalties. So when income does come in as a product of this, it allows individuals to then trustlessly, split the royalties, the claims to that. But I'll just give like one, like what does all this mean? Like what does this look like in action? And I'll give an example. So one of our earlier kind of like proof of concepts was GitArch. So with GitArch, let's take viewing products and things like that. Let's look at code and software. So you can store using our NFTs, using NFTs in our chain. You can store your Git repositories as NFTs on our chain. So one of the things now is on our chain, like NFTs as DAOs is really like the powerful thing. Like our DAOs really are rooted from NFT technology. So essentially like just shared decentralized governance over these NFTs. So over this code base, and then you can have multiple actors voting on what to accept, what to reject, and then shaping what ends up becoming this product, voting on when to release, things like that. And if it's ever deployed on a platform where there is a profit generation, then they can have a scheme linked to like, okay, so here's the DAO, here's the product, which has its own treasury. When income comes into this treasury, how does it get dispersed to the contributors? And you can have all of that defined. And yeah, this is just a really big reason why we are a DAO chain, but NFT technology is quite essential when it comes to our vision with the creator economy, contributions, keeping track of everything, and then also storing the records of ownership over them. But so yeah.
So I'm actually curious, what about working with other existing NFT solutions in the ecosystem like Remark or Unique Network, for example? Have you been in talks with any of those teams? And if so, is it possible to even integrate with InvArch in any way, or is the technology like completely different from what they're doing?
I've been staying away from my true thoughts on this. Okay, so regarding NFT standards, the interoperability is all there. I love Remark. I love Bruno. Bruno is such a good person. His team is amazing. And so I don't want to directly fault them. I don't think that anything there was never any like malicious misleading per se. I do believe that everything was well intended, and they're a great team. They're going to do big things, but over the past year and a half, I have been told incorrect information regarding timelines and expectations numerous times. I'm not gonna pull a Donnie, but I do understand his frustration.
Right.
I get it. You put a lot of stock and faith into things, but so what I'm getting at is our full expectations and plans from day one were always used Remark. However, after a year and a half, the Remark palettes, they technically exist. They exist. They do exist, and people have used them, but they are not production ready. So what does that mean? They, at least for Polkadot, they're not at the place they need to be for them to be put into chains and be used without, and just know things are going to be good. And know that they're also going to be like the maintenance will be upkept and things like that. So we are actually looking at using Unique's V2. Disclaimer, not to just, good. I like the Unique Network team. They're doing good things, but the Unique's V2 palette It has nothing to do with the unique network team. It's just that's the name that Parity decided to call the palette.
Yeah.
So we, along with some other teams, will actually be transitioning away from Remark and just using the Uniques V2 palette produced by Parity. And again, it's nothing personal. It's just I love the team, but I got to use the tech that is going to be there, that will be ready, and that will be upkept. So I say it's bittersweet, because I love the team, but it is what it is. And if I will say, if there's ever a change and Remark palettes do come to fruition, then I'll probably be one of the biggest advocates there. No matter what's happened throughout the year, I've always supported the Remark team and defended Bruno, but just is what it is.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, it is understandable. A lot of parachain teams have been suffering now in terms of funding. They're trying to reach out to the Treasury to get support. And I know that Bruno has had some troubles with that funding, trying to get it. And so hopefully, they'll manage to sort that out. We'll see what they do, what route they'll take, but I totally
they're doing a
understand.
great thing with, like, they have Remark EVM.
Yeah.
I just, the big difference is for us, we're an application specific chain. I don't even believe we need 5 different virtual machine chains. Honestly, I really don't. It's redundant. Unless you're very novel and very innovative and it brings a cutting edge use case, like Gear, microtransactions, fantastic. Astar, Moonbeam, beautiful. But we don't need a dozen of them because of XCMV3. So the other thing is, we don't have that. Once we have a virtual machine on our chain, doesn't matter how optimized we are technically now general purpose, and it goes against our mission.
Right. Yeah, no, fair enough. That's fine. Now I do need to ask you another question, which is going to be away from the technical side.
Okay.
And this is in relation to the situation with the bear market. I know you're kind of in a different situation, than other people. But funding and in terms of runway. So I don't need to know amounts, but what I do want to know is time frame. So in terms of the actual funding that you've got right now, how long do you think you can keep sustaining the full team without having to let staff go? And maybe not necessarily having enough funding to hire, but even like to sustain as you are, how long do you think you can keep going for?
So we're going to hire one more role. But even with all these numbers factored together, we currently have anywhere between we have approximately 14 months of runway right now.
Okay.
And that is if we raise no more money, we do nothing, we just build and burn rate. But we have a very, very low burn rate. I think it's something special about us. It only costs us it costs us now about $28,000 a month to operate. So a little bit goes a very, very long way. So 14 months now, but also with positions and plans, and we've had some really, really strong talks with the VCs during ETH Denver. So 14 months now, but I can promise you that InvArch will be here forever.
Wow, that's very good to hear. So I'm not even gonna ask you then, like, what would be your backup plan should you not be able to get funding? I mean, is it even worth talking about that at this stage, or are you really confident that you're gonna be okay?
Very confident. It's funny because during a rough time, during around like November, December, I was speaking with Marvin from Fallon Network. He's one of our advisors, and I remember because I was telling him just basically how tough things were, and he said something. He was like, it'll be okay. Have this experience. Anything you do after InvArch, and I stopped him. And I'm like, well, there is no I started InvArch when I was homeless, so I don't care if I would give, if it had to, I will give up everything. I will suffer outside in the cold, and I will connect to Wi-Fi at a library and something, but I will not stop building.
Wow, that's awesome to hear, man. I really like your passion. I think you're the first person I've ever spoken to who's been so passionate about their project. I mean, I don't want to name names, but I have had interviews with people who are really let down, and they don't seem so convinced that they can keep going, and you get that feel from the person you talk to, especially if they're a founder or a co-founder. So I really like your passion. I admire that. I think it's unique. So kudos to you. I really hope this is going to be successful. In order to use the tooling for the DAO, do you need to stake the INV coins? Will that be required?
So for the DAO, so on Tinkernet, so we have Tinker, TNKR.
So Tinkernet is the canary network on Kusama of InvArch, just for people in case they don't know.
Oh yeah. Thank you for that. So on Tinkernets, so you just need Tinker. Those DAOs, we look at as permissionless funding. So those DAOs don't necessarily need to put up anything. They just need to register. Granted, there's a transaction fee for that, but pennies, you know what I mean? So they don't need to stake anything themselves. They just need to accumulate support. There will be like a minimum threshold, you know, so it's not like a DAO can just register and then stake to themselves.
Yeah.
They'll need to get a baseline of support before they start getting any rewards, but there's no cost on them. We want this to be very accessible. They don't have to go through an off-chain governance process or even an on-chain governance process. It's streamlined, and our take on this is that the governance is performed through the act of staking. So as people are staking, that is them voting.
Right.
So making it streamlined, making it easy and as accessible for DAOs as possible. And then we'll, of course, be looking to iterate over top of it in the future to add more features, such as I mentioned OSIF farming, and then also milestone-based funding in the future. But no, I guess you could say no startup costs are thrown onto the DAO.
Wow, that's awesome. Great to hear. Cool. Thank you for explaining that. Now I have one final question, and that's in relation to marketing the product. So what's your plan for marketing, exchange listings, things like that? Like where are you going to be putting most of your efforts into? Like, is it going to be on Tinkernet? Is it going to be on InvArch? Is it going to be both? And so like what can we expect basically going forward?
The efforts definitely, like focuses definitely go towards both, especially because of I can't share it here, but a absolutely game-changing and massive partnership for Tinkernet, which is coming up with another parachain, and we have this shared vision, this shared idea, this coalition in mind. So we have that, and then obviously InvArch, we're getting ready to go for our slot on Polkadot. We have a lot going here, so we see these as two very big powerhouses that add to this overall system. So they definitely they get to share in the love and things like that. But regarding like strategies and things like that, we spend very little on marketing. The only marketing expenses that we dished out last year were a few things like token incentives, and then of course like Cointelegraph. We want to get some articles out there, but apart from that, pay nothing on marketing. In the past year, the past 365 days, I think we've put less than $1,000 towards our marketing efforts. And in the same time, we've seen very, very healthy growth across our socials. We don't necessarily we have a good amount of followers, I think almost 15,000 now, but still nothing compared to some bigger projects. But we get, I guess we get a lot more interactions and impressions and things like that. So we have quality. There's a lot of quality there.
Yeah.
And our big focuses are just kind of to keep doing the same. But if anything, just ramp up our personal presence within our community. So just focusing on grassroots efforts. That's really what helps support us and drive us, is our community, connecting with them, being there. And like, I mean, the way we see it is like, yes, this project, it can serve and empower a lot of institutions, but really what we're building, like this whole system, whether it's Polkadot or blockchain, this is a revolution, and revolutions they're fueled and powered by the people. So that's where our focuses go.
Really great to hear. And what about exchange listings? Have you discussed? I know you can't say because you're probably under NDA. I know exchanges are like that. They don't want you to say anything until they announce it, but have you been discussing with any exchanges?
Yes,
and I'm talking about centralized exchanges, not only DEXs, because I know it's easier to list on DEXs when you open up that channel.
So Tinkernet is on a Basilisk, and we do have a plan with a DEX for Varch as well. They came up to us a big project in the Moonbeam ecosystem that everyone knows of. But yes, there's three. There's three. There's three. Shout out to T from Teleswap, great guy. Brilliant dude. Okay, so but there's three centralized exchanges that we've been in contact with strongly. One of them, I don't want to say the name. The big one, it just takes a little bit of time, and everyone's going to be really happy. Two of the other ones, they are mid. One of them is in the top 10. I think one of them is just outside of that. And those will be coming soon as well. That is for Tinker, with, of course, plans for Varch. In the future, Varch has some exchanges that are, invested in it. So those are coming. Those are coming actually very, very soon. Granted, I would have liked it to have been a little sooner, but yes, I can assure you that there's three we've been talking to. Two are coming very soon. The third one's coming shortly after, and that'll be up.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah. Great to hear. Thank you very much, Dakota. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing so much information. I mean, if you want to follow InvArch, I am going to post a link in the description of this video with all the links. You can join their Discord because they are very active there. Follow them on Twitter as well. Check out their website. And that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Thank you.